Okay, there we go. Stop recording. Recording. By the way, we're recording this webinar, but if
Good
we
evening.
good evening.
Hi, Patricia. I'm glad you made it. I remember when you emailed. You're on mute again. Can you hear me? There you go.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying hello. I'm glad you were able to make it. I remember you had emailed me saying that you missed the previous info session, and I shared with you this one, and you said that you signed up. So I was glad to see that you're here.
Thank you so much for organizing this panel today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, nice to meet you. We are recording this session, but we won't be posting anything. We won't be using it unless we reach out to you for the rights to be on the video. So don't worry about that. So it's a small group today. Nice to meet you, Taylor, and nice to meet you, Patricia.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
All right, with that, I think we will get started. Give me 1 second. Let me know when everybody can see my screen. All right, and with that, I'll hand the mic over to Lisa.
Okay, so normally we have like this, not really a formal presentation, but a laid out presentation. But since it's only the two of you, we can be as informal as you guys like. Feel free to jump in with any questions that you may have. My name is Lisa Morris, and I just want to thank you both for joining on behalf of the Patent Pathways program. So generally what we like to do is we have a short PowerPoint presentation that you see where we talk a little bit about what patent law is, some of the myths that people have about the field, and then we talk about some of the educational requirements to get into the field, and then we talk about our own, we have a panel discussion talking about our own paths into the field, what we do, what we enjoy about the field, and just the different sort of careers in the field. And then, like I said, along the way, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to jump in with your questions. If you feel more comfortable, you can also put your questions in the chat. So with that, I'll just start with a brief introduction. Again, I'm Lisa Morris. I'm here with my colleague, Ed Kim, and we also have Michelle Flowers, who is actually one of our Patent Pathways participants from the initial program. And we'll go into a little more detail about our backgrounds after the presentation. So to start with, do either of you know who that person is? Taylor? Okay, that's Lonnie Johnson. He was an engineer, for NASA, and he invented the Super Soaker, which is one of the best-selling toys of our generation. And he really understood the value of this invention that he created, and he decided to get a patent for it. So what you're looking at there is the face of the patent publication. And this patent allowed him to prevent other people from using or making or selling his idea, his invention. So the patent was really important to him to be able to protect his idea. And so that brings us to talking about what patent law is. And so, Ed, you can.
There we go. Sorry. Oops. I'll have to start over. All right. So the patent field is kind of divided into three categories, three fields. One is obtaining rights for patent protection. This is what we know as patent prosecution, which is geared towards applying for a patent and up till getting a patent granted, dealing with the USPTO, filing an patent application and getting a patent, like the one we saw with Lonnie Johnson. And then what happens afterwards, after you're granted a patent, there are two fields or two kind of categories. What happens with after you get a patent? Enforcing patent rights, what we commonly known as patent litigation, when two parties are in dispute of infringing on a patent. Also, buying and selling licensing patents, basically what we know as IP transactions, patent transactions. It's basically buying, selling, or licensing the technology that your patent covers. So the patent professionals kind of get to work in these three categories. It's usually you kind of divide it into, you would be pursuing a career in patent prosecution or patent litigation or IP transactions, but some also do all of the above. And with that, we'll be covering some of the questions that people commonly ask about becoming a patent practitioner. And this will be more interactive. We're going to be asking you questions. And yeah, if you know the answer, please feel free to share with us. So the common question we have is PhD needed to become a patent agent? Does anybody know an answer for this, whether it's true or false? Go ahead.
It's false.
False? That's correct. And do you know why?
Yeah, you just have to be patent bar eligible to take the patent bar. So you just significant coursework, or you need to have a major that's listed in category A. So that could usually just be a bachelor's.
That's true. So PhD is not required to become a patent agent. What is a patent agent? Patent agent is a certified agent, certified and registered at the USPTO as an agent who can officially represent an inventor or an applicant with the dealings with the USPTO. USPTO is United States Patent and Trademark Office. That's where patents are granted. So a patent agent, in order to become a patent agent, you have to take an exam called patent bar exam. This is different from the bar exam that attorneys take, lawyers take. So once you pass the patent bar exam, you're officially registered and registered with the USPTO as a patent agent. You're certified. Without the patent agent registration, you cannot represent an inventor or applicant with the dealings with the USPTO. And we'll be introducing you to a little bit more different kinds of patent professions. Another comment, another question we get is law school necessary to be in becoming a patent practitioner? Is law school, another common comment we get is law school is too difficult and expensive. Does anybody know whether this is true or not?
That's false.
False? Okay. And why? You know
because I think, well, I'm not sure. I just know that law school is not necessary, but I think it's because you don't have to have knowledge of the law necessarily, right? To become a patent agent. Because what your role is different than the role of a lawyer in the process of getting a patent.
Yeah, I think you kind of got it. I think this is a good segue to introducing you to like different types of patent profession or a patent practitioner. So like I said, like we talked about before, once you pass a patent bar exam, you're officially registered as a patent agent. There are people who work in the patent field who is neither an agent nor a attorney. And they are commonly referred to as, there's different names depending on where you work, which law firm, which company you're at. Patent scientist, patent engineer, technical specialist, or patent specialist, or patent business analyst. Some of them may be a patent agent and some of them may not be a patent agent. So there are different responsibilities with an agent, patent agent certification and without. Even for patent lawyers and patent attorneys, there are two types. There are patent attorneys who took the patent bar exam and is officially registered with the USPTO as a patent agent. And there are patent attorneys who only went through law school and passed the bar exam at a state bar and is licensed to work as a patent attorney. Now, the difference between a patent attorney who has a patent agent registration and without is the patent attorneys who are not a registered patent agent cannot officially represent a client, an applicant or an inventor with the dealings with the USPTO. So basically the patent agent registration gives you the rights to practice in front of the USPTO. However, patent attorneys can work on other stuff like patent licensing, patent litigation, trademarks or whatnot. It's a little bit different in intellectual property, but so that's the gist of the patent profession. And to the comment on whether law school is too difficult or expensive, there's a lot of scholarships out there, and even firms or companies that are willing to pay for your law degree if you work during the day and go to school at night part-time. Patent attorneys are in court often. How about this statement? Does anybody have any comments on this? I see Taylor shaking her head. That's right, it is false. As a patent agent or patent attorney working in the patent prosecution field, patent prosecution meaning going back to what we explained, applying for a patent and getting a patent granted, you're never in court. Almost never in court. You may be in court with a patent litigation team as a litigation support member. Even for patent attorneys who are in the patent litigation field, a lot of the cases end up settling before you end up in court. So no, they're not always in court like we see in the movies. But when you do end up in court, it is kind of similar to what we see in the movies. It's too late to become a patent practitioner. What do you think about this thing? Is it too late? Never? No? Okay. It's never too late to become a patent practitioner. We have many people in the patent field who joined the patent field as a second or third profession, and it's never too late. And I'll hand my mic over to Lisa to talk a little bit about the advantages of careers in the patent field.
Yeah, I was one of the people who joined as a second career, so it's never too late. I can attest to that. Yeah, so there are many advantages we think about working in the patent field. There's good work-life balance. There's a lot, particularly if you're working in the field of on the patent prosecution side, which is what Ed and I do. There's a lot of sort of predictability in the type of work that you'll be doing because you're practicing before the Patent and Trademark Office, which is an agency that sets forth rules about how you sort of engage with them. So there are like time tables and time frames. And so you kind of always know when things are due to the Patent and Trademark Office. So it allows for a lot of predictability in your work and as a result in your life. And so it makes it a little easier to sort of balance or, create the work-life balance that works for you. So it's a career that I find to be fairly flexible. There's good promotion potential. There's, lots of opportunities, whether you decide to pursue a career taking the attorney path or taking the patent agent path. There's a lot of potential for upward mobility, as well as sort of lateral and doing things, you know, that are sort of adjacent to patent work, as Ed had mentioned, for as an example, doing trademark work, doing licensing work, copyright work. These are all other adjacent areas of patent law that, you know, kind of fall under the umbrella of intellectual property. So there's lots of things you can do once you sort of enter into the field. And then it's financially rewarding. So this chart shows, the big chart shows the patent attorneys who are out of law school and are going into a large law firm, what we call big law. They generally enter into their first year of work in cohorts of their graduating class. So everybody who's graduating now will enter in as first year associates. And this is the general salary that's being offered to first year associates. And then as the associate progresses through the firm, they move on to second year associates and third year, et cetera. And, you know, eventually, hopefully become partners. But as you can see, there's a lot of potential to make a good amount of money in the field. And even if you decide not to pursue the attorney path, you can still make a good amount of money. So patent agents start at around 75 to 115,000 a year. And then there's, you know, lots of financial growth there as well. Ed?
Okay, and a couple of more advantages of a career in the patent field. You're always going to be in the forefront of technology and then have direct impact on innovation. For example, if you're in the patent prosecution field, like we said, like we talked before, applying for a patent all the way to getting a patent granted, you will be working on patent applications that are way ahead of what we see in the market, right? Once your invention is published or becomes public knowledge, then that published document can be used against your own patent. So what people do is they file for a patent before making their invention technology public. So before any conferences or any like presentations on it. So you'll be always in the forefront of the technology. There's a lot of funding available while at school. Like we talked before, there's scholarships and also there's jobs at law firms and companies that are willing to pay for your legal education or even your patent bar exam preparation if you take it while you work at the firm or the company. Also, there's some sense of job security. The patent field doesn't really get affected by the recession. There are some studies about how companies and organizations actually spend a little bit or focus on getting a patent when there's recession because it's a long-term game, right? A patent, lifetime of patent is 20 years. So it's a long-term game, long-term investment. Also, there's a diversity issue in the patent field. There's not a lot of patent agents of color, patent attorneys of color, and therefore there's a likelihood of you becoming a trailblazer or a role model in the field pretty fast. And now that we talked a little bit about what the patent field is and what a patent practitioner is, we're going to be introducing you to a program called Patent Pathways, and which is kind of like a gateway to a career in patent law. And I'll turn over my mic to Lisa.
Okay, yes. And I see your question, Patricia. We're actually about to talk about that in a moment. So thank you for bringing that up. So let me just tell you a little bit about this Patent Pathways program, which is a program that is aiming to increase the number of diverse individuals at the patent bar. So individuals who sit for the patent bar exam and pass and become patent agents or perhaps patent attorneys. So this is a training program that does that. Right now, the program is open to African-American women. And you want to go to the next slide, Ed? So the program, it offers a free virtual education. There are skills training components that will give you the skills that you need to practice as a patent practitioner, as a patent prosecutor in particular. So it's teaching you how to draft patent applications, how to respond to what we call office actions. There's some writing coaching. There's preparation for the patent bar exam. It also covers the costs associated with taking that bar exam. And then there is mentorship with professionals in the field. So you get assigned to 2 mentors, one that works at a law firm, another that works in a legal department of a corporation. And then at the end, there are opportunities for employment. So this is a program that we're really hoping will make a dent in the diversity issues that we're having right now in the field.
And the program is sponsored by law firms, organizations, and companies. So there's no cost involved on your part. And the patent preparation course, one of the most popular one is called PLI. It's offered by PLI. And that course is also provided to you as part of the program.
Yeah. So that's the end of our sort of presentation. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about what we do and our path into the field. And in that, I will talk about your question about, opportunities for remote work and is the career family friendly? Yes, and yes. We'll give an example of what it looks like. So yes, I am a patent attorney. My background is computer science, and this is my second career, as I had mentioned before. So I originally worked in my first career, I worked in IT as a database developer before I decided to go to law school. So I decided to go to law school. I went to law school at night, part-time, while I was still working full-time in my IT job. And one of the reasons that I decided to go at night is because I had kids. So I definitely understand your question about whether or not the career is family friendly. Anyway, so I went to school at night, and I didn't know anything about the patent law field. Like, I knew what it was, but I didn't, really know any of the nuances about it. And I didn't go to law school for that. I went for something completely different. But I had met an attorney, professor who was also an attorney who had the same educational background that I had. And so he told me about the field, and he encouraged me to look into it and consider it as a path. And so I kind of thought about it, but still didn't think I really wanted to do it. And then I had an alumni of my law school came to the law school looking for students to come and work at his firm. And so I was hired to do that. And so I ended up working there, kind of like semi-part-time-ish. It was like 30 hours a week. So I did that. And then I did like my previous job, like on the weekends a little bit. So I was doing both of those. I'm still in law school. But I found that I really enjoyed the work that I was doing at this firm. It kind of really fit well with kind of the way I like to work. So as a patent practitioner, your work is kind of like solo. You're doing like a lot of solo work. You're not really working so much I keep saying practitioner, but I meant prosecutor. You're not working so much in teams. You're working generally alone for the most part, which I kind of like. And, you get to use a lot of the same kind of technical skills that you use or that I used in my technical job, where I'm sort of analyzing things and, coming up with solutions as I'm analyzing these different little nuances. And so it just really seemed like a good fit for me. And so I decided to pursue that as my career. So after I graduated from law school, I ended up after I graduated from the law school, I took the patent bar exam. And as Ed was mentioning, once I took the patent bar exam, I became a patent agent. So initially I was working as a technical consultant before I took the patent bar exam. And I was doing the same work after I took the patent bar exam for more money. And then a couple of months after that, I took the state bar exam, which allowed me to become a patent attorney. And again, I was doing the same work, but was able to make more money just by that additional credential. And so that's what I'm doing now. I work remotely. So I've been working remotely from home since the pandemic, but my job now is just a remote job. I don't go into the office at all. So there are opportunities for working remotely. So it is very, I think, family friendly. There are, and I'll talk more about what patent prosecutors do in a moment, but because of the flexibility of, and the predictability of work in the patent prosecution field, it does allow for a lot of, a very flexible environment for people with families. Like, I know some people who will start work at like 5 a.m. in the morning, for example, and then they'll work for like 2 or 3 hours and they'll get their kids ready for school. They'll send their kids off to school. Then, they'll come back and do more work, and then they'll stop working like at 3 o'clock when their kids get home, and they'll, do homework with the kids, dinner with the kids, whatever, and then, do that and then come back and do a little more work. So you can manage sort of your workload and your day, I think, very easily in this kind of career, just because it is so predictable. Like, you just know well in advance when things are going to be due. So yeah, I think hopefully that answers your question. Okay, and I'm going to talk more about what I do as a prosecutor in a moment. I just want to give everybody else a chance to introduce themselves. That was a long introduction.
Thank you, Lisa. So yeah, my name is Edward Kim. I was first introduced to the patent field while I took a year of college and did a year-long co-op overseas in Japan at an R&D headquarters for a company called Sanyo back in the days. It's no longer there now. But yeah, when I was over there working as a co-op engineer in the electronics field, I was kind of introduced to the patent because I wanted to see what career choices are available as an electrical engineering with an electrical engineering degree. And of course, they were filing patents in the US, so they had me proofread some of the patents that were being filed in the US and introduced me to the patent department. And I kind of got interested. So when I came back to graduate, upon graduation, like the USPTO was hiring. And I thought it would be the best place to learn about the patent field. So I joined the USPTO, worked as a patent examiner. And by the way, I forgot to mention, patent examiner is another career choice. So we talked about being in the private sector, a patent agent, technical consultant, technical specialist, or patent scientist, and then being a patent attorney. On the other side, there are patent examiners who work in the patent field. And these are federal government employees at the USPTO who take in the applications, we review them, you analyze them, use what we call examination, and try to determine whether or not a patent should be granted. So I worked at the USPTO as a patent examiner in the computer technology field for about 13 years total. While I was doing that, I went to law school at night, just like Lisa did. I ended up having my kid my second year law school, and after I graduated, I joined a big firm to do some litigation, patent litigation. So I was in the patent litigation team, did a little bit of M&A, cybersecurity, some contract deals and whatnot. And then I decided to come back to the patent prosecution side on a law firm. So I work at a Harity as a patent attorney, focusing on patent prosecution at this moment. And throughout my career, I've been remote since 2012. So even at the patent office, 100% remote work is available after a certain period, about 2 years. And currently I'm totally remote as well. Our firm is headquartered in Virginia, but most of us work all over the nation. That was a little bit about me. I'll hand over the mic over to Michelle.
Thank you. So as Lisa mentioned earlier, I am a 2022 Patent Pathways participant. So a little bit about me is so my degree is in civil engineering. That's what my bachelor's is in, with an emphasis in hydrology. However, for the past 5 years, I've been working with an electric company doing contracts for renewable energy projects. So I've been in the engineering industry for about years now, but I've always, I guess I'm not always, but when I was in college, so my freshman year of college is when I really, I had an idea. And so I decided to kind of look into it. And that's how I initially stumbled across patents, and just, it was very confusing for me. So I said, okay, let me focus on my studies. And I kind of put that down. But I kept getting like introduced to patents at different points throughout my life. And so a friend of mine's last year, she reached out, actually like my kindergarten friend, we were just connected on social media. She reached out and she was like, hey, you're an engineer, right? And I was like, yeah. She was like, are you interested in patent law? And I was like, yeah. Like, it was so funny because I had just got done doing Google searches, like, okay, I'm going to go to law school. Like, what steps do I need to take? And so it was quite timely. And I was like, okay. And so she sent me the link to Patent Pathways. I looked into it. I filled out the application, and I was just like, okay, this is happening. And so it's a year-long program. And I really, when I decided to do it, I had so many other things going on, but I was just like, you know what? I feel like when opportunities come knocking multiple times, you should pay attention to it. And so that's what I did. And here I am now talking to you all about it. I am not working in a patent field yet. As I mentioned, I'm still working in my current industry. However, I did attempt the patent bar exam in March, and I was not successful, which that's not uncommon. So don't be afraid about that. And I do have every intention to reattempt it. And like I said, I definitely want to go to law school. So I'm just making some adjustments in my personal life and my career so that I can really free up that time to focus to get this done, because it's very important to me. And I believe it's something that I should be doing at this stage in my life.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. And she's right. The patent bar exam is notoriously difficult. And sadly, most people don't pass. So it's not unusual to not pass on the first try. And many people end up taking it multiple times, and that's perfectly okay. Nobody cares. Like, you eventually pass and you become a patent agent or attorney just like everyone else.
There's no limit to how many times you can take.
Yeah. So I was going to talk a little bit about what I do as a patent prosecutor. I just want to say to Ed, I don't know if you want to see if we can add the latest attendee as a
yeah, let me try this again. Promote to
also,
panelist.
I was going to ask maybe Patricia and Taylor, since it's such a small group, I feel like you guys should maybe introduce yourselves and tell us like maybe what your background is and what your goals are. So maybe we can kind of tailor the rest of the conversation to what you're looking for. Patricia, you want to go? You're on mute. Okay.
Yes, sure, I'll go. Yeah, so thank you. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for sharing your stories. And so I have a broad science background. So I'm originally from Kenya, and it's interesting that now I stumbled across the Patent Pathways program, because up until I was a junior in high school, I thought I wanted to go into law.
Mhm.
And then I took chemistry, and I fell in love with chemistry. And so then I came to the US for college, and I ended up majoring in chemistry as an undergrad, and then I got a master's in chemistry. But I realized when I got into the master's program, I thought I wanted to do a PhD in chemistry, but then I realized that I actually liked sort of working at the interface of different scientific disciplines, not necessarily focusing on one. And so then, I left the chemistry graduate program with a master's, and then I enrolled in a PhD in cellular biology. And so that's what I eventually end up getting my PhD in, is molecular and cellular biology. And then I did a 2-year research scholarship in doing research in toxicology, where I got to apply my knowledge of cells to understand more about effects of pollutants on different types of genes being expressed in cells. And so then after I did that for 2 years, then I ended up, so I was in Michigan at the time, and then I met my husband, and I got married and moved to Atlanta. And I was initially thinking that I would, just be able to jump right into a science career there. But things did not quite work out that way. I ended up working, doing small jobs as I was a scientific editor for a short time with an editing company, editing science papers. And then I tutored students in their homes one-on-one. And then I had my kids. And but so then I was trying to think about how to get back into the science field. And I thought about going into using my scientific knowledge in public health. And I actually found this really great research group at Emory University that does research similar to what I did in Michigan, looking at environmental pollutants. But instead of working on the lab side, I was working on the public health side. So I got to interact with a community that we were studying that had been exposed to environmental pollutants. And the group had been following them over a long period of time to sort of look at what kinds of effects the environmental exposure had on these people. So looking at whether the gene profiles changed, things like fertility, things like incidence of breast cancer. And so we would go and meet with the communities and recruit them to come and join the study so they could give us samples, semen samples and urine samples and things like that, and blood samples. So that was really interesting. So I ended up getting my public health degree and working with that group. And then after I graduated from the public health degree, just working with the community and working outside the lab whet my appetite to want to work with people and to want to make a difference with my skills. And while I was thinking about how to use that, I stumbled across schools that are independent private schools. And I realized that I could actually teach science in an independent school without necessarily being certified as a teacher. And so that's what I did. And that's what I do now. So this is 7 years ago, I got a job teaching chemistry at an all-girls school. And so this has been a great opportunity for me to be able to impact the next generation and hopefully inspire some to enter into the STEM field. So and just after being a teacher for, I've been a teacher now for going on 7 years, but I've realized that I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. And I think when I came across the Patent Pathways program, I thought, this would be interesting because I think it would be, what appeals to me is, okay, so the opportunity to continue to grow, to continue to refine my skills and things like that, but also the opportunity to again be able to learn more broadly about different sciences as I'm looking at how if somebody comes with an idea and looking at what the impact of that idea is and what it means and whether it would be worth filing a patent for, that is intriguing to me. And again, as I said, I feel like it would be coming full circle because, I started off being interested in law and then going into science, and then now having an opportunity to be able to combine both, I think would be fascinating. So here I am.
Great. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. And
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You are encouraged to consider this as a potential path, a potential next path.
Yeah, exactly.
Taylor, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what your goals are?
Sure. So hi, my name's Taylor. I did my undergrad in biology and I minored in chemistry. And I went to law school. Now I have 1 year left, so I just finished my 2L. I wanted to go into patent law because the summer after my junior year, I did an internship at Brookhaven National Lab where I worked in the tech transfer office. And that's basically like exposure to patent law. And I got to work with some patent attorneys and like the postdocs and PhD students. And I thought it was really cool, especially because I got to look at things that were like not in my practice area, because like with my undergrad research, I focused on like genetics. And before I went to college, I did a research experience for high schoolers. And that's like my first another publication was in like botany. So I was kind of like focused more on like the life sciences, but what I really liked about working with DNL is that I got to look at mechanics, physics, but I did mostly like pharma stuff just because of my background. But after that, I decided to apply to law school. I graduated like 2020, so I didn't have a graduation, I just got my diploma mailed. And that's when I decided to apply to law school. So then I entered law school in like 2021. Currently, like last year, I did a summer associate position at a patent boutique firm, and I'm back at the same firm this year doing the same thing. And I work in prosecution and litigation mostly. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. What law school did you go to?
I go to Mauer, Indiana University, Mauer. I go full time.
Great. So you only have 1 more year left, you said?
I just have a year left.
Good. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, G. Lofton, I'm not sure what your first name is, but if you are able to turn on your camera, you don't have to, and or turn on your mic. We'd love to hear a little bit about, a little introduction from you and what you're looking for as well. Okay, maybe they are not able to speak.
Maybe that, yeah. Well, listening to Patricia and Taylor, it seems like both are interested in a career that allows you to kind of work on a variety of technology. And that is true in the patent field. Like I'm an electrical engineering background, did mostly computers in my life, but I was doing litigation. I did a little bit of pharma, other life sciences, and during prosecution, do a little bit of everything, starting from like biomedical devices all the way to radars. And oh yeah, while I was talking, it looks like Glinda Lofton is also online again. So yeah, if you want to Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Linda.
Thank you. I apologize. I think I have my settings set to no microphone or no camera. So
Oh,
once I
okay.
enable the mic, it kicked me off.
Oh,
But
okay.
I apologize for that. So and I apologize also. I wasn't prepared for the camera, so my hair is
No problem. No problem.
Quite all right. Don't worry.
right. Okay. I received my bachelor's in my bachelor's of science in food science and human nutrition. Initially, I was a chemical engineer major for about 3 years, and I took 1 semester off. And unfortunately, at my university, my undergrad university, I think it went like every other semester, like classes only offered like that semester every year. So it wasn't like spring, only certain things were offered. So I had to wait another year. So I just kind of said no thanks and I switched to food science. But that's where I just discovered patent, my knowledge about like patent laws, because I joined a kind of like I took a graduate level course for product development, and the product we made took off and it just won like a lot of competitions. And when we went
Congrats.
to thank you, we went to like a national competition for like a society or whatever. We were presented with offers to purchase the product, and that's when our professors was like, no, we need to patent this. And I think that's when I became like more and more aware, like once I started reading paperwork, and I knew I always wanted to go to law school. I'm sorry if you hear my dogs acting crazy in the background, but that's what I always knew I wanted to go to law school. And I just thought the two just seemed like a great idea. And I did 1 year of law school, and I don't think I was very serious about it. I think I was still in my undergrad kind of phase of thinking I can cram my way through. And that was, yeah, that was not a wise choice, but I think it was a great learning lesson, because what it did for me, I knew I wanted to return. So I went and I got my master's degree in business administration, and I was very serious about it. And my GPA was just very high. And now I've been studying for the LSAT because I want to return and reapply. And I just never like gave up on that. And I took the patent bar. And again, I was younger, still in my cramming phase. I thought, oh, I can just like, study a weekend. No, it was brutal. But again, I think that was a learning lesson too. Like that behavior had to stop. But I never gave up on that. So right now I'm scheduled to take the LSAT in June. And so I couldn't sleep Sunday, and I was scrolling through and on LinkedIn, and I saw this, and it just, I was like, oh my gosh, it's this, because I've just never given up. And I guess what I've done in my professional life, I've worked as a food scientist, and that's what I thought I would always do. But it hasn't worked out that way. I worked more so like in I worked in research and development. I worked in quality assurance, and for different like food and beverage companies. And right now I'm at my first time out of that industry. I'm actually working for like a fiber or a paper company. But I have to say, I always think about returning to law school, and I always, I know this isn't what I want to do with my life, and so I just have never given up on my dream. I just know, like, I felt like maybe what I went through before was a good lesson to make me realize that I had to work harder to, to achieve what I really want in life. So. But when I saw this on LinkedIn, I just thought, oh my gosh, like what you said, when opportunity knocks. So I just decided I would give it a shot, because I always wanted to take like the PLI course, and I realized I needed structure to take the patent bar. Like I cannot do it on my own, just studying, or I was just trying to study. I was trying to say like the MPEP. I thought, oh, I can read all of it and I'll know it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm one of those people who just think, oh, I got this. I'm gonna read it. I got it. I'm gonna walk in. Yeah, I read it once. I highlighted it. I underlined it. I'm good. So, but no, I think those things were just great learning lessons for me that I had to really buckle down and kind of not coast through things and just really apply myself more. So I'm grateful for the opportunities that I guess life presented to me as lessons. So, but yeah, that's how I got here. And I just never really given up on what I really wanted to do, was become a patent attorney and also or a patent agent. So yeah, but thank you for letting me speak.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
you found your way to us. I think we didn't really even get a chance to talk a whole lot about what we do, but I'll just say for the benefit, because Patricia did ask, and if you guys have to hop off, I know it's almost 8 o'clock, feel free, but I just wanted to share a little bit about what I do as a patent prosecutor, because you did ask what the day-to-day looks like. So basically, prosecutors, we're the ones who are helping the inventors to get their patents. And so we're working with the inventors, we're trying to help them flesh out their ideas and to decide what might be something that's patentable, something that's new and useful and what they call as non-obvious. So we help them to prepare the application, which is a written description of their invention. And it includes like drawings of the invention, and that whole package gets filed with the Patent and Trademark Office. And then, as Ed mentioned, there are examiners there that will examine the application to make sure that it meets like these various legal requirements, and to determine whether or not it's eligible for a patent. And then it's our job as patent agents or patent attorneys to sort of communicate with the examiner at the Patent and Trademark Office on behalf of the inventor. And so we're advocating and explaining, we're advocating for the inventor, and we're sort of explaining to the examiner why we think our client's invention is different from something that the examiner may say is the same as our invention. So when the examiner examines the application, they're going to try to determine whether or not there are other inventions or publications or products in the public space that are the same or very similar to the invention that we're working on, or if there is some combination of multiple ideas or inventions that may be the same as ours. And then the examiner will come back and say, no, your idea is really the same as these two ideas that, if you put them together, it's the same as yours. And so our job as the agent or the attorney is to explain to the examiner what the differences are. And so that's, kind of a lot of where your technical skills will come into play, because you'll really need to have an understanding of your client's invention and the nuances, the technical nuances of that invention. And you'll also have to have an understanding of what we call the references, the pieces of the other things in the public space that the examiner is saying is the same as your invention. You'll have to be able to read that and to understand that and to understand how it differs from your client's invention. And so what we do on a day-to-day basis is we communicate like sort of back and forth with the examiner. All that communication is done in writing. So as Ed mentioned, you're never like in court really. You don't go to the Patent and Trademark Office. You can, but we do have interviews sometimes with the examiner, and those are usually like on the telephone. So they're telephone interviews. They're very informal. They last for like maybe a half an hour. And so, it's not an adversarial process in the kind of way that you would think about law, like when you see it on TV. It's not contentious at all. It's just long though. It's like it's a long iterative process that can go on. It could take years from start to finish to, from the time that the application is written until the time that a patent is granted. So it becomes a very iterative process. And when you're communicating with the trademark office, again, you're doing it in writing, and they're sending you these communications, and you have to respond as the agent or the attorney. You have to respond to those communications in writing, and you have to do that within a certain time frame. So when you get one of these office action communications from the Patent and Trademark Office, you know when it's going to, when your response is going to be due. And so that's where a lot of the predictability comes in. So generally you have to respond within, like, most things, like a 3-month period of time. So you kind of know, like, well in advance. And so you're able to kind of plan your life, really, plan your workload, and then as a result, plan your life around that. So that's kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis as a patent prosecutor. I do all of my work pretty much solo. You know, you may be working with a reviewing attorney who will review your work, particularly if you're working as an agent. And more particularly if you're working as a technical consultant who hasn't yet passed the bar exam, because you won't be able to, you're technically not able to practice before the Patent and Trademark Office. So you can't sign your name onto any documents. You can't really have conversations alone with the patent examiner. So when you're acting in that capacity, you'll have people signing off on your work. I guess Taylor probably has experienced that in some of the work that she's doing at the law firm. So yeah, that's what I do as a prosecutor. And if, I don't know if you guys have time, but Ed can talk a little bit about what he did when he was working as a litigator. That's kind of like on the other side of the fence.
I can totally do that. And just before I do that, I think I want to just introduce the Patent Pathways program. One aspect that we forgot to touch today is last year was Michelle said it was Michelle mentioned that it was a year-long program. The mentoring went on. This year we have kind of like 3 cohorts. It's going to be divided into 2. One that starts in June that goes all the way to November. And there's another class starting January of 2024. On top of that, we're also offering a shortened, like a focused course where a lot of the stuff that we talked about here with the program, you get skills training, ongoing mentoring. Skills training meaning they're volunteer attorneys who will give a presentation on like patent prosecution and give out homeworks on basically what a patent prosecutor would do, like drafting applications, responding to office actions, and you'll get feedback from your mentors. Some of these will be cut down for the fast track program. So if you're interested in it, so there's a little bit of, it's a program that's kind of geared towards a lot of different scenarios from the feedback that we got from last year. So if you're interested, I highly recommend checking it out. In terms of the patent professional profession in patent litigation, it's a little bit different from patent prosecution. So remember, like, patent litigation happens after a patent is granted, and one party is alleging that the other party is infringing on your patent. So you're either you're representing the alleged infringer or a patent holder. So depending on which side you're on, your job is a little bit different. But in overall, I don't know how much you know about litigation, but litigation is kind of like a storytelling process where you're given all this data, all these documents from each party, each company or a party, and you're trying to make a story of whether storytelling that you're not infringing the patent, and or arguing that the patent should have not been granted, so you can try to validate the patent. On the other side, you're trying to tell a story that the other party is infringing on your patent, and these are the reasons why. So there's a lot of so their patents are involved, but it's not purely technical like patent prosecution. There's a lot of legal procedures that get involved with a patent litigation. So basically, if you think about it, it's like a litigation with patents technology sprinkled on. Given that there are patent attorneys who don't even have a law, who don't even have a technical degree, because it's heavily focused on litigation. There are attorneys who come from like history major, English major, art major, or in the patent litigation department, or working as a patent litigator. When it comes to technical expertise, there may be patent agents or technical specialists who get pulled in to kind of explain the technology behind it. But also there are people like us with a patent background working in patent litigation. Patent litigation is a little bit slow paced in a sense that litigation goes on for a couple of years, but there's a lot of ups and downs during those years. In the beginning phase, it may be a little slow. And once it goes to court time, you're on pretty much 24/7 for up to like 3 months, an average of like a month or 2 or 3. A lot of people end up going to court, and depending on where the court is. If it's somewhere else, like in Texas, if you live in the East Coast and it's in Texas, the litigation in Texas, you have to show up to court in Texas. You might go there and stay in a hotel for about 3 months, just working on the litigation. But so there's a lot of ups and downs and unpredictability. But if you're the type of person who loves formulating arguments, storytelling, and like that roller coaster type of work life, then I think that is a good fit for you. So there's a little bit of different kind of, I guess, personalities. Lisa used to say different personalities of the patent field. So that was a little bit about the patent litigation field.
Thanks, Ed. And yeah, we can talk, if there's more time, we can talk about, how you kind of pick like whether you want to go into the prosecution or litigation. But I did want to give Michelle a chance to talk a little bit about the Patent Pathways program, since she's gone through it and she can share her experiences about the program.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So, and I do have to jump off soon, so I'll share what I can. If there's any questions, you can, I guess, send an email, and if Ed or Lisa need to ask one, they can get an answer to you. But I guess I would say the biggest thing for me, like I mentioned before, I had already had a lot of things going on in my career, in my personal life. So I would say the most important thing now is the time. I think it should be treated kind of like a part-time job. There is structure to it, like with the PLI course, but also it's self-paced at the same time. So you have to be disciplined enough to set that time aside. So that's probably, I would say that was like the first 3 months. It sounds like it's going to be structured a little differently this time around, but it was like the first, I would say like 2 to 3 months. It was like, okay, go through these pre-recorded videos and take these exams, and then the manual, the MPEP has like different questions and stuff like that throughout it as well. And then I would say the most interesting thing for me was like the different training or skills training courses that were offered. So I really, at heart, I'm an artist. I like to draw. And so that really kind of pulled it all together for me. And then also, like I mentioned before, in my current career, I work on contracts and agreements, but it's like using a different side of the brain. So like what I consider technical writing now, it's a different type of technical writing. So that was challenging for me. So we were able to work with a writing coach. I thought that was really great. And I would say the other thing, I guess, that really was most beneficial for me is having 2 mentors assigned to me. I still meet with my mentors. It was every week for a while as I was going through the different skills training. And now we just dropped it down to once a month. Even though I'm at the end of the program, they're still like, hey, if you have any questions, we're here for you, just really encouraging me. There were moments where I'm like, you know what, do I really want to like start over in a new career? Because at this point in my current career, I'm like mid-level, right? I'm no longer an entry-level engineer. And so I'm like, do I really want to start over and be essentially entry level? like get in another industry. But just talking to my mentors, they really was like, you know what, you have accomplished great things, and transitioning to another industry doesn't take that away. And so that just those conversations really encouraged me to keep pressing forward. And it's like, you know what, sometimes you have to take I guess like a step back, or just kind of shift, slow your pace to excel even further. So I took it that way. It's like I'm not really I guess doing myself a disservice. I'm just exploring something different. And I do believe that I can do well in this industry just with the skills that I currently have, the courses that we were offered in this program. And really, I believe that every lawyer, every person that spoke to us, or came and joined a presentation, truly believes that as well. And it was also inspiring just to hear the different paths that everyone took. And I'm a single mother, so I went through college with my son, and I worked. And so just to hear like similar stories of people going through law school and working, like I wouldn't have the luxury to not work and then go to law school full time. I would definitely have to do it part time. So it's just inspiring to hear so many other people have taken that path and they've been successful at it. And I guess another thing for me was really the encouragement to kind of have like a sisterhood with the other ladies that were in the cohort with me. And it's just, we all connected. Like I started connecting with people on LinkedIn and just like reaching out, and just I'm like, oh my goodness, like these women are awesome. So it was like really encouraging, because I'm like, it gets challenging in at least in a STEM industry. There's just not a lot of representation oftentimes. And so it's not uncommon to feel like you're in the fight by yourself. So just when the cohort first kicked off and everyone's going around introducing themselves, and there's like professors and multiple women with PhDs and law students, and I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm like, and they look like me. So that was really encouraging, because I'm like, I'm over here and I'm like, 1 in 100 in my area. But then to hear how these other women are really being trendsetters and getting so many awesome things done, that was motivating. Even when I was like, you know what, I have other things to do, I'm not gonna do this. I just wanted to, honestly, at some point, I was like, I just want to see it through, because I want to see how many of us make it through to the other side. So that sisterhood, I would say, this experience, I recommend it to all of my my girlfriends that I went to engineering school with. And I'm like, hey, this is, if you've ever considered law school, I definitely encourage you to go through this program. It's so worth it. I didn't know what I was getting into. I just knew I wanted to learn more about patent law, and I gained so much more than just learning about patent law going through this program. So I would highly recommend it. And it's, like I said, it's self-paced. So there's the issue I had in the beginning, because I'm like a deadline driven person. I was like, okay, I have to like pass the bar exam at this day, and I have to do this at this. Once I took that pressure off myself, and I was like, you know what, let me just do what I can when I can, it really freed up my mental space. I know quite a few women in the program, we all had our hands in multiple pots, which obviously, if you're interested in this program, you probably are like that as well. Like you're a forever learner. And so it wasn't uncommon. Like we would have, sometimes we would meet like once or twice a week in the beginning, and the whole session would be about like, hey, how's your mental health? What are you doing to prioritize it? How are you organized? How are you managing your time? And that was very helpful to know, hey, I'm not alone in this. We're all feeling somewhat overwhelmed. We really didn't know what to expect. And then just having the opportunity to interview and connect with the different law firms was great. It was, for me, a lot of my interviews were very casual, but I found that there's a lawyer, she actually grew up in my hometown. She works in like 10 minutes from me. And she was like, hey, let's, stay in contact. So we're connected on LinkedIn now. And I was just like, well, that is so cool. Just how things just continue to come full circle. If nothing else, I say it's great for networking. Like I mentioned, my mentors, I'm connected with them. I speak with them regularly. And so, yeah, it's just, and even just having the opportunity to speak with you all, and I was able to speak with another group a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to share. If there's any questions about the program, I'm open. I have maybe about another 5 minutes before I have to jump off.
Yeah,
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, I guess if you three have any questions for Michelle, I'll let you do that now.
Yeah.
I had a question, Michelle. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing your story and about the program. So I was curious. So so it sounds like there are courses that you take to build your skills. And is there so what kind of preparation is there in the program to help you now, once you finish, to be ready to take on a job? You know what I mean? Like, and I guess this is like a two-part thing, because how do you, so for instance, if now you're going to get a job, how do you demonstrate that you have experience? Like, is anything like building a portfolio involved, or do you do any kind of projects, things like that?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. Actually, I failed to mention, so my mentors, I work directly with them to prepare my resume. And so as we took those different skills courses, I was encouraged by my mentors to add it to my resume. So I have a completely separate resume that's just centered around building a patent agent portfolio. And then also the law firms that the program is partnered with, they don't expect us to have much experience. So at least my understanding is that they're going to offer training. And as I would say, the skills courses was really just so it wouldn't be something we're only seeing for the first time once we get into the industry. And so there was homework assignments, and we would meet once a week for maybe 2 hours, and we'll have different lawyers go through okay, so we're going to focus on writing, describing this patent, or we're going to focus on researching a patent today. And then you'll be given an assignment, and you'll work with your mentor if you needed help. And then you'll submit it. They looked at it and used that to continue conversations, but it wasn't necessarily oh, you're going to pass or fail. It was just really to help us enhance those skills. And so even with that, the courses were recorded. So if you couldn't make it that evening, I mean, all that material was it was available to you to go over, because I travel quite a bit with my job. So sometimes I wasn't available to attend it while it was live, but I would look at it later. And then also with my mentors, they kind of held me accountable, because I'm like, I'm going to see, I'm going to speak with them in 4 days. And they're like, okay, I know that, you all covered this last week. Do you have any questions? Can you send me? And my mentors were really active and engaged. They would really mark up these paragraphs or these drawings for me, and then we would go back and forth, and it's oh, almost there, not quite. And so that was really good for me, because even just learning how to get on Google and search for a patent with prior art was, I had never thought to do that before. So even just something as simple as that was very beneficial for me. And like I said, just doing the drawings and the technical writing was all very beneficial. But there was, I would say, maybe 6 different skills courses. And then, like I said, we had the opportunity to work with a writing coach as well.
Yeah, and I'll add that most people who start out working in the field, if you start out as a technical consultant or a patent agent or even a patent attorney, most people don't have any experience to speak of when they start. So a lot of like attorneys will start straight out of law school, for example. Some may have taken a patent law class, but usually they wouldn't have taken like a sort of like a practicum, you know, where they're actually doing the actual work. So most people don't have any experience when they go into the firm or the law department, and most firms and law departments will train you. So they're looking for you to have the technical skills really, and you know, the willingness to learn new technology, the willingness and ability to kind of learn new technologies is really what's important, I think.
And like this year, we are looking for 50 participants throughout the 3 different programs that we told you about. So yeah, if you have any friends and family also who are interested or slightly interested in any interest in the patent field, join the patent field, yeah, please feel free to let them know that this program. And we'll be taking applications throughout the year because there's one starting in June and there's another one starting in January of next year. And also there's a fast track course available. So yeah. And sorry, I think it was Anthony Terry who joined. I didn't realize there was another attorney who joined. So I just promoted you as a panelist just a few minutes ago. If you have any questions, anybody has questions, it's now time to ask us.
Hi, I just had a quick question. Can I apply anytime, even if I want to do like a later track, like the one that starts in January versus the one that starts in June?
You can
Yeah.
apply.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can apply now and then let the going back to the program, when you apply, you go through an interview process. Let me just show this again. And then that's when you can tell I guess whoever's interviewing you. So it's like a 3-part process. You apply, you get interviewed, you get picked, then you get to participate in the program. So you can let the interviewers know like what your timeline is, and they can work with you to put you in the right program.
Yeah, so if you're interested in January, that's not a problem at all. You just let the team know. Does anybody have any other? I want to be respectful because I know Michelle has to go, so just wanted to see if anyone had any more questions so we can let Michelle go. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing your story.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Okay, bye-bye. Hi, Anthony.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, how
Nice
are
to meet you.
Nice to
Great
meet you as
meeting
well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you had heard much of the session, but wanted to see if you had any questions or anything for us.
I really do appreciate your time today. I was coming a bit late from work. My major questions was, what kind of opportunities could I gain from the actual program? Because I've been in and out of the whole patent realm of things as an intern, I would say, because over the past year, I was in my senior year of undergrad. I participated inside the Heritage and Heritage. I think it was like the patent, somewhat of like the Patent Academy program that they had with Morgan. It was Morgan State University. They reached out to us on. And then from there, I was able to branch out to a patent law firm known as Edo Shapiro and Finan down in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And I've been doing an internship throughout this whole period of time. I'm classified as a patent prosecution intern. Thank you. And then with me just graduating this past Saturday, I'm now trying to explore law school. I had taken the LSAT and things of that nature, and I'm still pursuing, trying to become a patent attorney. But I just want to know what can I gain from the program since I'm still so interested inside the field.
Yeah, I first of all, I think Michelle is a Morgan State that just got off as a Morgan State. And And the leader, the chair of this program is also a Morgan State grad, and my sister went to Morgan State.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this particular, the Patent Pathways program is right now, well, the program is aimed to increase diversity for underrepresented minority groups at the patent bar. And for the first 2 years, we're focusing on African-American women for entry into the program. And for future iterations of the program, we intend to open it up to other demographics. So for this iteration, you'd have to identify as an African-American woman to apply. But we do have other resources that we can share with you about getting into the field. We have training materials that we could share with you. We have other programs that we know of that we can share with you as well. So you can just reach out to info@patentpathway.org, or you can, if you want, you can put your email or contact information in the chat and we can take it, whatever's easier, and we can share that information with you to give you that. But yeah, I think you're on the right path. You said you're, you did the Harity Academy, so that's great.
It's great to see a Harity Academy, I guess, alumni pursuing. So we've heard from a lot of alumni that they entered the patent field. It's really good to know that our volunteer time has gone to fruition.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're happy to share with you the resources that will help you to get to where you're going.
Yeah, so there are programs that take in kind of similar to ours that take in all demographics. So there's we have a I think we have a list of those programs. So if you send us an email at info@patentpathways.org, we can forward you that information for this year. But I guess the program in general, like our program, it covers like the PLI course. You have like hands-on skill training, and you have 2 mentors, one in-house and one in law firm, that will guide you throughout the process and help you with your give you feedback on your work products. That's the gist of the program. And we'll match you up with law firms who are willing to hire.
Yeah, or law departments and corporations.
Yeah, the companies too.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely, no problem.
No, absolutely.
Do you
Any
guys,
other questions?
any other questions for us?
None so far. But I do look forward to seeing you all in the future. Wherever the Lord takes me. But I would love to, whether it's working at Harity one day or just working in adjacent with another company with you all. Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is a very small practice area, so you do run across the same people.
Yeah, you'll probably. Yeah, it's a very small.
Yeah.
Like that litigation I was on years back. I went on this conference, ended up meeting a person like I didn't know about, but like I never met before. But it turns out we were on the other side. So so the litigation was over, so we could talk. It was good talk about the case and whatnot. But it's a small field that you get to know. Once you get in, people know everyone.
Yeah. So Patricia, I guess for those of you on the phone, are you guys interested in applying to the program? Do you think it's something you might be interested in applying to?
Yes, when I was coming to the meeting, I wasn't sure because I had a different picture in my head, because like again, I think it was Ed or maybe Lisa, you said at the beginning, you said, it's you sort of think about what's shown on TV, what's portrayed on TV. And so I was like, I don't know if it's going to be intense like that. I don't know if that's for me.
I'm not sure if that's for me.
Yeah. But I mean, I do, I think as a teacher, I've come to really, I loved science before becoming a teacher. And now as a teacher, I love it even more, and just love just the the process of learning and knowing about different things. And what I've heard tonight, I've just, I think it would be a great opportunity to be able to do that, to be able to use, to refine my skills even further in that way. So I'm definitely interested in applying.
Okay, good. So yes,
Yeah.
please be sure to check out the website, and you can apply, via the website.
Okay.
And to your point about the work, you'll be looking at patent documents like this. This is a front page with a lot of diagrams on it, but yeah, this will be what you'll be looking at and responding to. A lot of reading and writing.
Okay.
How about you, Taylor? Is this something that you think you might be interested in?
Yeah, it sounds like something I'm interested in. Even though this is like my second summer working in patent law, like I don't know enough. Like this summer, I'm like, oh wow, I still don't know this. But
You probably know a whole lot more than you realize you do.
I'm still getting, like, I finally got to the point where a partner sent something with minimal edits. I'm like,
Oh, that never ends.
And it's never end.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested, especially for the mentorship aspect. I'm one of the 2 Black women at my school who are patent bar eligible out of like my entire law school. And that's a rare occasion because we just had a lot of people, because I'm like the COVID year. So we had a lot of people change mid-career. So usually it's either like none or like 1 per year. So now we have all these things in our school, like, oh, look at our diverse IP students. So it's just But no, I definitely need the mentorship, and I definitely need the career guidance because like I'm still figuring it out, and I still like don't feel like I know what I'm doing, to be honest with you.
I think a lot of people feel that way, even when they start practicing. It's not unusual, especially when you're in a law firm. And a lot of times it's just the personalities of the people above you who make you feel that way. But you really know probably more than you think you do. And I'm sure are well qualified to do the job that they've given you to do, or you wouldn't be there,
Yep.
That's the fact of the matter. You wouldn't be there. So yes, I hope you will apply, and also tell your qualified, your patent bar qualified classmate about the program as well. Maybe she'd be interested also. So yeah, I look forward to seeing.
And even for the June program, it's not late to apply for it. We're interviewing right now for the program, for the June program too. Yep. So there's been interviews lined up today, tomorrow for potential participants. Yeah. So yeah, spread the word and
how about you, Glenda?
Yes, I'm definitely interested.
Okay.
Yeah, I will apply.
Great.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. It's 8:34 now. Do you guys have any more questions for us? And if you think of other things, feel free to reach out. Any questions you have later if you need to. Okay. Great. Well, it's all of you. I'm glad that you were able to join today, and that we hopefully inspired you to apply to the program.
I love the energy in this room right now. I think everyone's gonna be a trailblazer 5, maybe a couple of years down the road, right?
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Right.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.